Hello, Star Wars fans. Hey, there's just 272 days until Christmas 2022. Oh, and I think we've got a fun show for you today. We've got a lot of topics to discuss, and I keep forgetting this piece. We have to do all the social stuff, right? So you guys make sure that you that you share, you do all the things. And we're simulcast over on Facebook, so you can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. All of those things. We've got channels everywhere. So please support the channel by doing all those things. And we have a Patreon where we are going to be providing Patreon only content. The first one, the next one, we've already done two. The third one here, the next one is going to be with Captain Pennsylvania. That's going to happen this Friday on April 1st. So it's no joke. I'm telling you now. It's happening April 1st. Captain Pennsylvania and I are going to talk about King Conan because this guy, let me see if I can get him to, here he is. This guy here absolutely nailed it in the King Conan to the Book of Boba Fett reference.
Got one right.
Yeah, you did. You got one right. And I don't know too much about King Conan other than it's Conan the Barbarian who is now king.
He just sits around on a chair and he's like, I'm the king of the castle.
I'm going to rule with respect.
With right? Respect. Yeah, mostly, mainly with respect.
Exactly. So we're going to talk to Captain Pennsylvania. Captain Pennsylvania is all things Conan. That dude knows his Conan top to bottom, inside out. So I'm going to get the scoop on Conan, King Conan, and all of that and see if he can make some connections for us to the Book of Boba Fett, because frankly, I don't know that I saw it.
He makes funny Arnold faces. It's like before he kills people. He does do that.
Well, there's that. Yeah, sure. So good to see a lot of our regulars here. Star Wars Fits and Jedi Mike. We've got Dawn and I think Baymax is in the room. Yep, Baymax, Brian Stone, Wolfpack, Jedi Jen, a good friend from the Den of Nerds. Good to see you, Jen. And Matt Risman. We've got a lot of fantastic folks here. So we want to, and I know there are others, Darth Maximus. I can't go through Sheev the Wise. So there we go. I think I've covered all the, or at least most everybody. Thank you all for being here.
Raymax. That's his new name, by the way. It's Raymax. The loves Ray.
Exactly. It's Raymax.
Raymax.
I love, and by the way, a couple of things for you. So Friday, apparently I said something I shouldn't have said, that you had a clickbaity kind of title. I didn't mean that you had
I know.
Folks.
I was just busting. Yeah, I
felt terrible. Like I'm like, I am such a loser. I am a noob, a terrible person. So I wanted to make sure I told you that, look, I'm an idiot. Sorry.
No, you're not. No, I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, and then I figured out what you thought I meant after that. You thought I meant that they were like two different partisans.
Yeah.
They were like different things.
I got really confused about that.
I was like, it is like an actual Rogue One connection. Like it's like the same crew.
Yeah, I got completely sidetracked on that, and part of it is my own fault because when I think of Saw Gerrera, I don't really think of Rogue One too much. And I saw you and Rob were talking about when you hear Saw Gerrera, kind of what's the first thought you have? And Rogue One comes up very high on the list. I think for a lot of people it does. For me, I go into Rebels is one of the primary because of the deal with Ezra and Saul, and he was being influenced by Saul. He was sort of following that path for a while.
Yeah.
And they were, so I kind of go there, and it's a really good storyline with Ezra and dealing with his aggravation with going on back on his home world and kind of sympathizing with Saul. And I thought, wow, that's really good. The second one, and this kind of flip-flops on me, is with the Clone Wars animated series.
Yeah.
Saw Gerrera in there. Those are where my head goes primarily. Rogue One is such a minor bit for me in far as like Saw Gerrera. So anyway, when you said these are the partisans, but Saul Guerrero is not there. I'm like, oh, these must be different partisans. So my brain just I missed, my fault. So bad. So I'm an idiot.
We were just teasing you. It really wasn't. Really wasn't. Like, yeah.
And the other thing
if I was mad
on Friday,
I'd have been like,
you guys were triggering me hard on the sequels in Ray. I was like, oh, you guys are making me mad. But it's all good.
Got to push your buttons, Santa. Got to push Santa's buttons. Keep them moving. Keep them.
I know. I was like, I'm gonna leave this on because Jason's my friend. I'm gonna let it play, but man. And I even left my like on there.
You're all dislike.
I know. It did cross my mind. I was like, do I need to go click the dislike? I just like the temptation was there. I was like, no, I'll leave it on. Because you guys are just having fun. And I know whenever Rob's around, he loves to imitate me, by the way. He loves he does. He's always giving me a hard time. I say it's one of the benefits of being in the cult. The Making Star Wars cult is Santa that Rob can haze you, right? Like that's what Rob does. He hazes you when you become a cult member. It's a benefit. It's actually, and so you just need to embrace it. So hey, Will Morgan, glad you're here because I want to talk about Lord of the Rings in a little bit. And Will Morgan and I have been kind of making some connections between some of the more recent Star Wars content and Lord of the Rings. And of course, Will Morgan has a channel called Meta Egg, and he kind of catches up on these like hidden Easter eggs, or maybe they're not so hidden, and connections between things. He's a brilliant man, and his content is absolutely fantastic. I love his sense of humor. I love everything he does. My only issue is he doesn't do enough of it. Like I need more Meta Egg content, but he's not satisfying the demand. I just put it that way.
Get out of the chat. Make a video right now.
I need more Meta Egg. I know. So we have
a dozen Meta Eggs. No,
that's right. That's right. So good to see you guys. So a couple of I think easier topics off the top before we get to. He says, okay, all right. We're going to crack the whip. Don't make us come out there, Will. Wait, don't make us. No, I'm just. So a couple of easier topics off the top. And Meg did a video today. She talked about the update on Rogue Squadron, the Patty Jenkins movie. Of course, it's still technically on the calendar for next year. We've not really heard any updates. The only thing that happened is a story ran a couple of weeks ago that said she had a discussion with the author of some of those novels, and everybody got super excited about it. But when I read that article, the article said something like early on she had this conversation with this dude. And then over the last couple of days, somebody talked to him about it again, and he's like, well, I haven't talked to her. Like, but she's doing that thing, and I know as much as you guys know. And it's like, so when I read it, I didn't read it as if they were, meeting or having discussions or planning anything together. Just that perhaps they were at a dinner together, a function together, something happened, and she had a brief conversation with him, like, hey, I'm a fan of your work, and I'm doing this thing. It's inspiring what I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, whenever like academics whenever like an academic starts to touch on like a new topic, they'll oftentimes give a call to other people in the field who they have access to, just to say, hey, and then they have a conversation. Just like when somebody goes to make Rogue One and calls up George Lucas, and George Lucas talks to the director of Rogue One on that phone for 2 hours. Doesn't mean George Lucas wrote it. It doesn't actually mean it really meant anything at all, other than the support and a little bit of expert advice at the end. That's the way I took it. I was like, oh, that's cool. They at least like spoke. He might have given her a couple of pointers about how the fans work with that. What he noticed that was unique to the Rogue Squadron fans versus the general Star Wars audience at large, something like that. But at the end of the day, it was always sort of a non-story in the reality.
That's what I thought. And one of the things, and not to bash any content creators. Look, you gotta make your living. I get it. Right? And Lucasfilm isn't exactly great in their publicity arm or their public relations arm in giving us regular information and just giving us updates. So people are always reading tea leaves and trying to read into stories, content that we haven't been told, because we're not getting anything. And so sometimes that speculation is kind of misled or misguided, but it's all that folks have. So it can be a lot of fun to speculate. Look, I love speculating as much as anybody else, but
Sure.
misread a story is the thing that it irritates me. And it just kind of annoys me whenever there's such a blatant misreading of something. Like, did you just read the headline, not even open it? Like, you're like, oh, I saw they talked. Yeah, but did you open it? And it says early on. Did you even?
Yeah.
No, right.
They just, well, that's the thing is that, like, I get it. People need to make content every day. I mean, that is why I like Meg. That's why Meg is, even before I knew her, was one of my favorite of the YouTubers, because
Me too.
when she does it, she will analyze it, and I think she does it ethically, where she's like, here's the evidence I have, and here's what I think. But a lot of people will just tell you what you want to hear over and over and over again. And and that's a huge grift. Those people, I'm not saying I'm creative, but those, or I'm even good at YouTube, but those people, they like to mislead you, to play with your emotions, to keep you constantly at an emotional level, to continue to grift off of you.
Exactly. And Trinity gets it. Trinity is a good friend, Second Street Marvel. Look, Trinity it has taught me so much, right? Like, Baymax is saying, check my DMs. What are you doing, Baymax?
Yeah, come over, girl.
I see what you did. I'm not doing that, Baymax. I don't want Will Smith to come and smack me like he did yesterday. Look, you did it. You did it. Now I might as well, like, since you did that, I might as well put it on here. So here you go. Baymax, you're going to get Will Smith to come and just smack the crap out of me. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. That's but funny, very funny. So yeah, I think so. That's enough on the Rogue One. And look, I'm hoping that during Celebration we get an update that they'll tell us, what's going on. I suspect, this is just my opinion, I think you share, that they're holding a lot of this stuff to release during Celebration. Updates on shows and projects and trailers and this and that and the other thing. Yeah,
I think so, for sure. I mean, it's otherwise they like do the event and then everybody goes, that event wasn't worth it. Why did this event even happen? And so on. My thing is, as we get closer to it, though, I bet you pretty much most things leak. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong for their sake. I actually strangely love leaks about story content. When it's like event stuff, I kind of don't really dig that. I know that might be contradictory. It might not even make sense, but it's like when people stay up overnight to wait in a room to have like a moment. I think that's when it sucks, when that stuff leaks out, as opposed to on the other option, when it's your choice to know about a story you're going to live with.
Didn't you stay up all night to wait to get into a room? Wait, no.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. No, I think it's great. And I just wish Lucasfilm would do a better job of kind of giving us a schedule, giving us some updates, so that the speculation doesn't happen, and then we don't get as much of the irresponsible kind of speculation. I'm with you. Meg is the best, right? Her ethics are high. What she does, the content she does, she is well reasoned. She does a good bit of analysis around it, and then she presents it as such, right?
She's not Jawa. There. I heard a barking Jawa.
You did.
Is that Tika?
We've got work going on. We're actually laundry room is getting remodeled, and we're getting
no more stinky clothes. Clean clothes. No.
we've exactly right. So and more than that is right now we don't have a kitchen sink or a laundry tub, and so like doing dishes is the hard part.
Just throw them in the trash. No, I don't do
well, that's
dishes
what we do.
anymore.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we do. It's the paper kind, right? Paper and
Okay.
plastic.
I hate the environment. No,
exactly. I mean, what are you going to do? So
no, what can you do?
it's that, but the cooking is the hard part. Like
Yeah.
being able to make dinner and then wash the dishes in a bathroom sink, or have to go upstairs and put them in the bathtub. You know, be on your knees on the floor doing dishes. That's no fun. So
Yeah.
that's been the hard part. So anyway, the next story, again, it was a big thing sort of last week, but over the weekend, Star Wars Explained talked about it a little bit, and I thought, well, we should at least address it.
Wait, did
And
he talk
it's,
about it, or did he explain it?
a little of both, I think.
Whoa.
It's the
Not
Christopher Lloyd.
clickbait. Not clickbait. You can't call it clickbait. He explained it.
Christopher Lloyd talking about doing might he be playing Joruus in the or in Mandalorian season 3. And of course, this is all speculation again, because the name drop of Admiral Thrawn, right? Grand Admiral Thrawn. Where's your boss? Grand Admiral Thrawn. And, and the question is, are we going to get Heir to the Empire? And of course, we get the drop at the end of Bad Batch, or season 1 of Mount Tantus, and people are connecting the dots, and like, are we going to get a retelling of Heir to the Empire? And you could fan cast Christopher Lloyd as Sabaoth really easily. I mean,
Could you?
He could.
you though?
I think you could, but the question is, will they really tell that story? You and I talked about it once before, but give us your take on Joruus Sabaoth and the.
I think it. Yeah, I think this is like, a girl said hi to me, so now we're gonna be married. Like, it just doesn't. It's like you're making such logical jumps. Like, the mountain isn't a story 5 years, or not even 5 years, the day after Order 66, essentially, right? It's just like a couple weeks after. And then we have the story that's 5 years, 6 years after Return of the Jedi. And then like for us I just don't see the connective tissue between those stories in any way meeting up or making any sense at all. And then it's Christopher Lloyd in a Mandalorian story 5 to 6 years after, in season 3 of a show. I just think it's wild. It doesn't make. I made the joke of that when the day that story came out. I was like, oh, that's who he's gonna be. He's gonna be the Heir to the Empire guy, and I was just kidding, because it's, in my opinion, it's crazy. It doesn't make it's just like I cannot do the mental math on it to even entertain it like in a serious way. So that's where I suck at speculating. I'll give it that. I'm always wrong whenever I figure out your predictions on Book of Boba. So I'm bad at this. I'll admit it. I'm bad at speculating, but I just don't see any Heir to the Empire connective tissue. In fact, people see it as an Heir to the Empire resurrection through all of this stuff. I see it as, I don't love Heir to the Empire, for the record, but if you love Heir to the Empire, you should see it as a snake going around Heir to the Empire's neck and slowly tightening and killing it, because it's never going to happen. The more that you see these various things show up in different places, the more you see it mined and pulled from, the more of a tangled web it becomes, the less likely you're ever going to see any plot thread from Heir to the Empire show up. That's my word on it.
Dominic has been trolling. Dominic, I've been watching you. I've seen
what
you've been doing, and here he is again. Yeah, the robot.
He's a robot. I saw his question about Lucasfilm and faith, and I'm like, oh, just because I do my job well doesn't mean Lucasfilm doesn't have faith. True.
Kumail. His name is Kumail, not Kumar. There you go, Kumail. I like what you said before. Like, I think they'll borrow pieces of Heir to the Empire to sprinkle into stories, like for seasoning. But are they going to actually do a retelling of Heir to the Empire? Probably not. especially not that storyline. One of my favorite theories is that maybe where Thrawn was during the original trilogy, and maybe following the original trilogy, is the Katana fleet, right? Like maybe he was out getting the Katana fleet, which comes for anybody who's not read those novels. It's a lost fleet of destroyers. There's a whole bunch of them, and they get lost out on this mission, and they've been gone for a very long time. But then Thrawn gets a whiff of it, and he chases them down. And there's this real threat that Thrawn would use all those Star Destroyers to quelch any kind of rebellion or the new Republic. So my theory has been maybe Thrawn found the Katana fleet and he went back to Chiss space with all of that weaponry to fight off the Grisk and anything else, right? From reading the novels, for me, Thrawn's motivation has always been the Chiss. First and foremost, and always the Chiss. Not himself, not his own power. He's not power hungry, power thirsty. He's not looking to lead an empire. He's interested in helping the Chiss strengthen and defend themselves against greater threats. That's always been my take on him. And if he was getting the Katana fleet, I think he would just take it back to Chiss space, not use it to overtake.
Well, and then, but I mean, even to take that, like what you're saying is how he should be, based off of the content they've produced recently, right?
Right.
Does Dave Filoni know that? Did Dave Filoni read that? Does Dave Filoni read these books? Or does he just get some here's some ideas that we have? Does he get the pointed, and an assistant goes through and annotates things and that's what he reads? Like does Dave Filoni agree with that? And
right.
And what was Dave Filoni's? I'm curious if anybody's ever gone back to look at Filoni's comments on characters like Thrawn from before there was any possibility of Thrawn, to see what he says more candidly. Like I'm at conventions and stuff.
I agree with you. And the weird thing for me, and I would love to have the discussion, somebody have the discussion with Dave, because of how strongly he holds the reins for Ahsoka, right? Like he won't let anybody touch that character without his direct involvement. He is making sure that her story is told the way he wants it told. Yeah. She belongs to him, so to speak.
That's his legacy, right? I mean, the big picture.
It is.
That's like his.
He's got a couple of characters that he was directly involved in creating, developing, and Ahsoka he's passionate about, and maybe to a fault, right? I've heard some complaints of people saying, "Well, he's protecting the character too much, and she's been overplayed." I don't necessarily agree with it, but I hear the chatter. Yeah. My question is, Dave, do you give Timothy Zahn the same sort of respect with Thrawn that you have with Ahsoka, right? Zahn created Thrawn back when there was no new Star Wars content coming, right? We went through a long drought. Those of us our age, we know there was a very dark time where there was no Star Wars content. And the only thing we got, the very first thing and the greatest thing that we got during that entire era was the Heir to the Empire series with Thrawn. And you got Luke Skywalker, you got Han Solo, Leia, their kids. All of that was fantastic, right? Jedi Jin, she's another in our peer group, right? So it was a very long time. So Dave, buddy, do you give Timothy Zahn the same sort of ownership of Thrawn that you have of Ahsoka? And if so, then what in the heck was Rebels about?
Well, that is kind of like the there. I think there is actually, for all intents and purposes, there is kind of a problem with Ahsoka as a character. I love the character. I like her a lot, and I think she's a great hero. But her problem in Rebels, or the issue was, that like I'm a spy, and then that was Anakin. That was like the big turmoil. But what's the character's like problem? And so I'm curious to see if as somebody who's watched Rebels, when we go to see it, they have to give her the problem. The problem is that she wants to find Ezra, is what we think. And if that's like the big problem, how does that connect and weigh in on an emotional level? And does it ring true with what we saw in Rebels? Does it seem like all of a sudden like oh, now she's really passionate about this guy who she kind of was just like, hello, I'm Ahsoka Tano. On a, you know, it's like they didn't have a lot of really interpersonal moments in the show that made it seem like they were close. And I'm curious how that plays.
I want to take a brief break because Polyhedral Paradise, Jason he has a channel where he mainly Dungeons and Dragons content, and he does a great job of that. He actually got to interview the guy who's making the live action, the movie of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that's cool.
Incredible opportunity. Polyhedral Paradise. You guys, if you've not followed Jason, you should go check out his channel and check out that interview. That's a major land. And he had a really good interview with the guy talking about where does Dungeons and Dragons fall within all of these other things in the space, like Lord of the Rings, or with Game of Thrones, or like what's Dungeons and Dragons niche in there, and how do you bring that into a movie without making it about people playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is sort of meta, you know, like how do you do that? And he did a great job. It was a great interview. So and he is doing a fundraiser for Easter weekend on mental health awareness, and he's a great guy, really great guy. So nice. Make sure you support that. And we'll be advertising that more as it gets closer as well. So enough of that commercial break. So I saw Meg put a comment in here that I thought was really pertinent to what we were talking about. Dave's Thrawn, right? There's Timothy Zahn's Thrawn, and there's Dave's Thrawn. Are they the same Thrawn? Right. Are they the same? And should they be? Right. Yeah. And it says he helmed Rebels. Right. Dave helmed Rebels. He did, and he'll do amazing things with Thrawn in live action. Mm-hmm. I just want to know, what version of Thrawn are we getting, and can we make those consistent with one another? I think there's a way to get there, but it's not been executed well. And I was rewatching Rebels season 3 again and be like, yikes, this is not the Thrawn that I really knew, because he was getting ready to completely just wipe out. No surrender, no quarter, right? No quarter, no surrender. We're just going to kill them all. I'm like, wait. That's not Thrawn. That's not Thrawn. You know, he would give them the opportunity to surrender and not needlessly take their lives. And then later he gets them basically defeated and says, okay, now you can surrender. I'm like, okay, all right. I cut you a break. So there you go. So you guys are on, good dude. Yeah, he is a good dude. He's one of the best. This Jason too, by the way, this guy, another
that's good, Jason.
I'm
evil Jason.
Yeah, when he's not triggering me, then he's a great dude. Otherwise, no.
It's fun though. It's fun to trigger you. It is fun.
I know, and it's one of Rob's favorite pastimes, and I'm just like, oh. So I shouldn't give him the satisfaction of knowing that he triggers me, because he'll double down.
That's a big mistake. You can't undo that. You can't undo that either. So.
It's the cat is out of the bag. So that's not good. So Christopher Lloyd playing Joruus C'baoth in Mandalorian season 3. I think not. I think that's a stretch, and I don't think we're going to go down the Heir to the Empire like a retelling. I agree with you that I think they may borrow bits and pieces from here and there to season, like taking Mount Tantus in Bad Batch, right? That kind of thing.
One thing I wanted to say was that, like, I throughout the years, I've spoken to a few people at Lucasfilm over the years who love those books or love Star Wars, obviously, but they're all just like us, where they will read that book and they'll love everything, and then they'll like really love it, and then like they're like, but y'all Samiri are stupid. That's a stupid idea. That's just the stupidest concept. And so they're not on like us in that way. And so, but you have to like look at it like all of us in this room now, this artificial made up Star Wars Santa's room. And like we all have these varying opinions. They have the same varying opinions like about that stuff too. So we're gonna see stuff that they like peppered in throughout the years, things that were cool, things that made Star Wars, the world of Star Wars, better. But I don't see them. I don't see them unless they decided to like straight up go like we're gonna do a classic, we're gonna do an adaptation of Heir to the Empire. It's not canon, it's like a legend story. We're gonna do that for you guys, an animation, something weird. Unless they decide to go that way, I just see them just pulling fun little things here and there. Wouldn't it be cool if Talon Card showed up right now, or Talon Card?
Talon Card. Oh, that'd be great.
Like that.
Well, that's why I keep throwing in my theory of the Katana fleet. I'm like, what could they borrow, and where would they use it? Like, not the story itself, but what elements of that? They've taken Mount Tantus already, and because it fit into the whole project on cloning, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to backfill some of Palpatine's contingency plan. Got it. All right. What else could they borrow? Talon Card would be great. I keep seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, is so and so going to be Talon Card? Is so and so's is this person the Talon Card of new canon?" Or people keep trying to make the connection between certain character and Talon Card. Might they make the Mandalorian into Talon Card? No, like whatever crazy theory they can come up with, and which again, I absolutely love speculation, right? But the Katana fleet to me would work.
Can we answer Man on the Moon's question?
Oh, let me go back.
Would it be terrible for them to give us that though? And that is, I think, a really, really good question without an obvious answer. Because see, the thing about it is once they do that, number one, it's not behind them now. It's in front of them again. And then you have this alternate narrative competing with their dominant narrative that they're currently world building in and making stuff for. So what, at the end of the day, if they did throw that bone to the Legends Expanded Universe community, would they take it and say, thank you, we're going to go over here now and enjoy this? Or would they sit there and would it become some ridiculous version of Restore the Snyderverse kind of thing for Star Wars, where now it's bigger than ever and it's not going away and it just makes more discord? I don't know the answer.
That's a really good point. I've been asking that question since they took all the EU and labeled it Legends. Yeah. Why not continue those stories, explore storytelling in that era, right? In that whole area, take EU stuff and continue to write that stuff, because there are fantastic stories in the EU. There are fantastic writers in the EU. There's fantastic characters in the EU, and they could continue to explore that as Legends. Why not make animated series, live action series, all this stuff? And just they've already got the channel in the Star Wars section of Disney Plus for that kind of content. Why not just create more of it? Like, open the doors, create it, let folks consume, right? You love to let people consume what they like, and if there's a demand for it, why not create more content to let them maybe
it's brand confusion is at the end of the day what it comes down to. It's if you're trying to write the definitive Luke Skywalker for this current era, and then you have EU writers literally contradicting that while he makes out with Mara Jade and has kids and stuff. It's like, I mean, it's not necessarily it kind of goes against their goals, right? I mean,
yeah, and Meg's right. Not the first time or last time we'll say that, right? Meg is often right. We have to consider a lot of the EU is awful and messy. That's true too, right?
Yeah. No, that's where, in their minds, methodologically speaking, they're like, you know what? We're going to start a new canon. We're going to pull what worked, what didn't. We're going to be great. And in reality, they're making most of the same mistakes, just in whole new ways. The people that run it were really not any more gifted than the people who originally ran it. So there's a couple of lessons learned that it's like a friend was like telling me one time about like starting over, and stuff. And it's like the difference is you're starting over with experience. And like that's a really good, I think, way of looking at setbacks in life. And I think Lucasfilm was looking at their new canon with we're starting over, but with experience. And I think we've seen it work in some ways with that. In other ways, like I don't know what you guys were thinking there. I mean, I isn't there like a rock? Don't they have like a space rock or something now? That's like a character in the High Republic. Something like it's like that's right back to we're right back to that one guy. Remember there was that
right
force
right. There's a character in EU that's an inanimate kind of creature as well, right?
Yeah, it's 60 Star Trek. It's not Star Wars. Don't know what you're doing. Stop getting confused where you're at. You're in San Francisco writing Star Wars right now. You're not in Los Angeles in the 60s writing Star Trek. Don't get confused.
Nikki asked, how is it still March? Well, Nikki, if you lived in Central Ohio, you would know that we had snow. Even this morning, there was snow flurries. And so how is it even March? She's saying, how is it still March? I'm saying, how is it even March? It's so cold. Like it's getting down into the teens at night. And those of you who are Celsius bound, that's below 0 Celsius, right? Like it's below freezing. It's getting into the teens in Fahrenheit at night, and we're getting snow flurries, and it's almost friggin' April. So that's the way it is.
I drove my kids up to the mountains this weekend and took them up to the snow and got sunburned.
Right.
What?
There's a lesson. There's a lesson for you, Jason. So that happens. That somebody who lives in that climate where it snows in freaking April sometimes. You can get sunburned when it's snowing.
Yeah, I did.
Sunburn doesn't come with hot. It comes with sun.
Nope. With light. With light. Turns out I am not translucent. Not the Force Ghost I thought I was.
Hey, good transition, by the way. Good translation. We're going to talk about this story. I know. I'll pay you later. We'll talk about this story again. Meg and I touched base on it Friday, and I think we're looking forward to it. Just reading this excerpt from StarWars.com. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen Star Wars Theory's take on this, Star Wars Theory can tell a story. Boy, I tell you, he read this and I was like, whoo, I got excited again because the guy is fantastic at reading a story and delivering that. I thought he did a great job. And he gave his reaction as he read it or right after he read it. So it's a really good, if you haven't read it on StarWars.com and you'd just like to listen to it sometime, go catch Star Wars Theory's take on it. He reads the entire story and then he gives a brief breakdown. It's really good. But if you read through this, for me, it gives a very, very strong vibe of the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings. Those wraiths that the kings there were 9 of them. They were given magical rings by, again, I know, Meg, we've lost you already. We've already lost. We've lost Meg. She's like, Lord of the what? I don't know. Is this some British writer that I've never heard of before? I know. That's the cave Meg lives in when it comes to Lord of the Rings. She's completely. But in the story, you get these 9 wraiths, and they very much remind me of the 9 ring wraiths, the kings that became wraiths from wearing the rings of power. So. Have you read it, first of all, Jason?
What's a Dementor? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you guys covered it Friday a little bit, right?
Yeah. I did read it. Yeah, I read it. It was okay. It was okay.
Did you get the same sort of like? Here's the 9. Some of the images.
I'll be honest. When I first read it, I was like, I thought in my dumb fan brain, I'm like, is this like a bunch of Snokes coming after him? When it was talking about these like tall figures and wraiths and stuff like that, I thought like, oh, is that what it is? And then I'm like, or is this like a wraith in the fantasy sense, like Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? I wasn't really sure what it was getting at, and then like the description of them kind of unfolds over time, and I did sort of get that Grim Reaper kind of vibe off of them. I think in the end.
Yeah, well, the ring wraiths could never be destroyed by man, and of course, at the end of the movie, you see a woman kills the king, right?
What? What?
Because she is no man. I am no man. She stabs him in the face.
I hope the dwarf ladies have beards still when they make a new Lord of the Rings.
I think it's interesting because Will Smith and I have kind of noticed some themes being picked up from Lord of the Rings in Book of Boba Fett, in the story arc with Grogu and Luke. There were some not only callbacks to like Dagobah and Luke with Yoda, but also kind of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, and climbing up into treetops and looking out. That's a scene straight out of Lord of the Rings as well. There's kind of falling back into the mountain for defense, and then you see in the Book of Boba Fett where they kind of fall back into the city. So there's a lot of it, and of course the chainmail, right?
Dude, one time Dave Filoni talked about Lord of the Rings to me for like 10 minutes. My eyes just glazed over. It was so boring. It was the most boring conversation I ever had with him in my whole life. That dude loves Lord of the Rings, though. So when I saw your message about this, at first I was like, "Oh, Santa, just like the Battle of the Five Armies in Book of Boba Fett," and then we got the Battle of Five Guys with Five Guys employees, all five of them going to fight at the end there. So I think you might be onto what they intend, but is it what they pull off? I don't know.
Well, so the question is, and sort of where it's kind of gotten some energy. Theory is super excited about where they could go with the Force Ghost Anakin and Force Ghost powers. And you go back to the original trilogy when Ben in A New Hope tells Darth, before he was Darth Vader and like Anakin Skywalker, but Darth, "Hey Darth, if you cut me down, I'll become more powerful than you can imagine," right? We also see that Luke kind of does the same thing in the sequels, like tells Ben, right, "If you cut me down, blah, blah, blah." So all that. So, yeah. So might they explore in this story, for anybody who hasn't really read it, is that he's on the Seeing Stone on Tython, the same one that Grogu was on, and he kind of gets popped over to Exegol. And it's kind of hard to tell if he's actually on Exegol or if he just imagines he's on Exegol. What's going on there? They kind of lead you to he's actually on Exegol, like he was moved by the Force to Exegol.
Well, my first question is, when he got there, did he find was there like one of Grogu's baby diapers there? And when he's like, "Who did this?" Right. Was he like really mad about it? And then, pick up after yourself, Mandos. No, but I think he essentially like astral projects there. I think it's because it does talk about like it in the excerpt, like this is more than a vision. So right. I think he's essentially like having an out of body experience almost, like, and then when you get into the fact that his dad shows up, I think that's what we're kind of dealing with in the Star Wars way.
Maybe so. So the question, like Theory was wondering, so Anakin shows up at the end and he runs off the wraiths, right? They're like, "Oh, we're out." Could we end up with some sort of thing going on in the cosmic force with Force ghosts actually battling things like Force wraiths, for lack of a better term? Might there be another battle going on, like in the cosmic force, that's separate than the one that's going on in the living force, or maybe there's some connection in between? And what we see with Luke is that these wraiths keep kind of materializing, dematerializing as he's battling them. Like their lightsabers are connecting with his lightsaber, and then he swings and it goes right through them and their lightsabers. And so they're like in and out. It's a fascinating. First of all, the writing I thought was terrific, really good, captured really, really well. This dude can write a story. but where it goes, how this plays out, and what happens. Is there going to be a exploration of the cosmic force in a way where we could have a spiritual battle going on? And not to go too far religious, but there's also there's a great writer that my wife and I love that write Christian stories where there is like spiritual warfare going on between angels and demons, and they're kind of interacting a little bit with the natural universe as well. I don't think they're going that direction, but for me, because I've read those stories, I'm a huge fan of them. I think to that as well. But I think about the Lord of the Rings. And the Lord of the Rings, the kings, right, those race, they were battling against Frodo in the material world, right? They gave him the wound that kind of carries on forever. But they weren't involved on a spiritual plane so much, right? I'm just trying to think, like, how far would that go? Is it going to be a full connection, or what would be the equivalent? Like, what's this battle going on between Force Ghosts and Force Wraiths? Like, I don't know.
Like my take on that excerpt was that we have Luke, in essence, astral projecting to Exegol, and then when he gets there, the Sith, sort of the spiritual side of the Sith stuff, starts to really kind of come in and attempt to attack him, because he's about to uncover like their like secret, right? And then we have Anakin show up, who protects Luke to try to help Luke continue on his way and stop him from like those things getting him. And in my opinion, that's probably going to be the extent of it, because he's going to go there. I think as a story device, he just needs to know Exegol is real, and that what he's seeing is more than just a vision. And he keeps saying that, like, he feels like it's more than just a vision. But then when his father shows up, I think that also says, like, take this seriously. Yeah. So a part of me won't be surprised if we don't see too much more of that stuff other than Lando and Luke's mission. That's
well, I know Theory got super excited about. Might we follow Force Ghost Anakin on all kinds of quests and stories, and Force Ghost Luke, right? Anakin and Luke as Force Ghosts going on these adventures and these battles and missions together. Might we have a whole story arc that's taking place in the cosmic force that can tell kind of side by side stories? And I don't know. I'm like, look, I understand where Theory is, and I understand too. I want to highlight this comment too, because I really do want to go back and address it. Salty Texas Ranger here. I, first of all, I disagree with you, but there are a lot of people of this kind of mindset. Like what they did to the legacy characters, a lot of what they did with that story arc was offensive to them. In many, I think that's the right word to say. It was more than something they disliked. It was offensive. And for Theory and other folks that feel this way, they definitely want to see these legacy characters followed in a more meaningful way. And to use this as another plane of existence where these battles can take place would at least give them something to get excited about. And I don't know it's going to go that far. I really don't.
I don't think so. I think this is another example of everybody running with the few pieces of Legos that are put in front of them, and then saying it's built. They're seeing 4 or 5 bricks and deciding it's going to build the skiff, and it's not. It's going to build something highly forgettable. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, like, every time I read one of these books, I don't think they're like really that good in the big picture. Most of the time, I'm pretty dissatisfied and feel like I wasted my time. And this one has a really good, a really neat moment, but it's very obvious that it's reactionary to the fact that episode 9 could have, should have, would have done something differently than what it did in that last. I reported that part about how the end of Rise of Skywalker goes. And I was just barraged with death threats and hate that Anakin is gonna show up and it's gonna say, "You're my granddaughter, Rey," and I'm just gonna hold her hand while she stabs Palpatine. Like, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I got voiceovers. That's all. Everything says voiceovers. Everything has people recording voiceovers, and like everybody wanted this one thing that was very obvious, and they didn't do it. So now in this book, they're going, "Oh, we should do what those people wanted and give them what they want in this book." That's all I think it is at the end of the day. I feel like it's reactionary because it doesn't need, and at the end of the day, it may even be worse for us because like now that this happened, like what does it mean? What does it mean for the publishing? Like what are the rules? Like something this important should only happen in live action. That's my.
I don't know. I agree with that.
Yeah, that is my take because now this has happened. Now when Anakin shows up to Luke, everybody who loves this book has to pretend like this still happened when they completely disregard it.
I think we should temper expectations on both sides. Like, I'm looking forward to this. I'm curious where this is going, but we don't even know the extent of how real this scene is, right? We don't have the full context of what happens after this. Like, what's going on? Is this all a vision? How real was it? Is it astral projection, as you said? Was he actually there? And then Anakin brings him back to Tython or somewhere else, Tatooine for Pete's sake.
Like
who knows?
Like just like Mortis. Did they ever go to Mortis? We still don't know.
Exactly.
It's completely. It's a vision. It's a spiritual vision-y thing. But I do think you bring up a good possibility. What if all of the players, just like the Clone Wars, are all Palpatine? What if Anakin is not really Anakin? What if that's Palpatine giving him a false spiritual figure to believe in? And then at the end, it turns out, oh, that's Palpatine's Anakin controlling that Anakin avatar. And then Luke has to, really be his own man and not follow Daddy. And maybe they'll do that kind of story. I mean, it could be fun. But
no, you guys are. I'm trying not to just go on a rant because
fight.
No. Look, I respect people have different opinions, but this kind of comment, like, and I see you, Meg, and I see in Salty Texas Ranger. Look, I see you guys, and I get it, but I can't disagree more strongly. Sure. That I don't think the folks at Lucasfilm hate Star Wars or their fans. I think that's a ludicrous statement, and it annoys the daylights out of me. I get that you feel like it offended you, right? I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge why it offends you. It's more than a dislike; it's an offense. I get it, and I understand some of the stuff that's happened on social media that reinforces that. But to say that the people that own that franchise, this Disney, Lucasfilm, and the people who spent so much time and money and effort to create the sequel trilogy hate Star Wars and hate Star Wars fans is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely nonsense. And look, Salty Texas Ranger, you've been around for a long time. I respect you, and I totally appreciate you being here. But when I see these kind of comments, and I know where it comes from, I'm like, you're completely overseeing what the franchise means to so many other people who absolutely love and adore these stories, who love, and you know me, I love and I saw that you mentioned it. I love the sequel trilogy. I love the characters. There are a lot of us who are OG fans, who are in their 50s, who grew up with Star Wars, who still love the sequel trilogy. And it offends me that somebody can say something like this and so many people agree with it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to go off on Salty Texas Ranger. I hope it doesn't come across that way. It's this mindset.
Get him, Shanna. Get him. Look, no, I'm kidding. No,
I can't take it. I can't take it.
It is. See, the thing is, like, the Disney trilogy is expensive, poorly written fan fiction. It's like, well, see, like I get where some people come from on that kind of thing, because they think like a smug bug or two. That's what we'll call them. The smug bugs at Lucasfilm who are on social media. Those people aren't creatives. those people don't do anything but write glorified dictionaries. The people that actually offended you have no idea who you are, what you like, or what you need. And it was pretty funny. There were moments in the past where people were like, oh, this comic book series is what episode 7's about. And like, I literally talked to somebody who had done writing for Star Wars, and they're like, they have no idea what that is. They have no clue whatsoever. And they're like, I actually brought it up to them. They laughed. They said, wow, that is kind of close. And you know what I mean? But like, that's the thing is that it's just like those little Lego blocks, that bad analogy I made earlier. They see a couple of things and then they think that they could draw a bigger picture from about what the situation is. When J.J. Abrams goes to write something, he only reads what's in the trades, what's in big film blogs, and that's it. He doesn't know what you actually wanted or needed. He doesn't care.
Well, and I saw Meg's comment that JJ hated Star Wars. Look, I think there are a number of us who still, and you all know me. You all know me. I do not have a very good relationship with the prequels. I appreciate them for what they are, but they still annoy me when I watch them because I know George Lucas created those things, and he didn't give a flip about me. When he created those prequels, he didn't give a flip about people who loved the original trilogy, because he stepped all over the original trilogy with the prequels. And it annoys me to this day that he didn't respect the stories that he told before, and that he created such a mess with them. Look, I could go on a rant about the prequels. I don't, because I know people really, really love the prequels. One of my best friends in the world, Meg, absolutely loves the prequels. And that JJ didn't care for the prequels. He's like me. I didn't like the prequels. The JJ didn't like. Doesn't mean he hates Star Wars or that he hates Star Wars fans. I just think it
is the ultimate irony. It is the ultimate irony of modern fandom, is that you'll go on and you'll watch like these like 30 to 45-year-old dudes going like, oh, this hates the prequels. And then they cry out for a little bit about how the prequel fans were treated over the years. They have a couple of tears about that, and then they go on to do the same exact thing to the sequel kids that the original trilogy kids did to them. It's a cycle. Right. It's a big cycle of fan abuse, and it's all stupid.
It is, and I try not to do it. Look, I'm guilty. Look, I could go on a rant because I get mad. I can't help it. I'm a person. I get mad, and I try to temper it. Like I was telling you before the show, you and Rob were triggering me hard on Friday. And I'm like trying not to just like click off and be like,
I love it.
Get out of here.
I love the it's like America. There's the people that are like, America, love it or leave it. And then there's people that are like, America, love it, so try and fix it. And like, that's how I critically look at Star Wars. Is like I love 7 and 8. I literally love 7 and 8. Episode 9, that's where it just kind of drops off for me. But X-Wing has given it. What did it say?
Two Mary Janes. It's hilarious. Meg, I can't wait to get hang out with Meg someday in person. We get to hang out about every week, and I absolutely love and adore her. And much of what we talk about, you guys don't get to see on air. And same with Jason. Jason's a great friend, and I appreciate what you've done for me personally. Outside of all this Star Wars nonsense, I appreciate what you've done for me personally. You two are two of my very, very best friends in the world, and so we can disagree on these things. And Nikki is a lovely person who I look forward to doing a live stream with for our Patreon only fans at some point. But
that'd be cool.
Look, we can disagree on these things. And Dominic here is trolling me hard. Dominic does that because he's a Michigan fan, and he knows how much I love Ohio State. And Michigan beat Ohio State this year, so I just have to take it. Yeah. Right? That's what happens. Like if you give it out, you have to take it. So I just have to take it. Dominic's trolling me, and I love him. He's a good guy, but he's giving me a hard time. He's giving me.
I mean, it is important. I mean, I've probably gone and done the opposite in the past at times, but it is important just to let people like what they like, and to not like put them down or make you expressing your opinion actually be a slap in the face to theirs. you know.
Right.
But also,
And that's why,
yeah,
that's why I picked on Salty Texas Rangers comment. Look, I understand the offense. I understand that. It's just how we interact with one another. And to say that those movies hate Star Wars fans, hate Star Wars, is triggering to me from that perspective. And it's something that I have to battle against because I shouldn't let it trigger me. So it's just something I have to watch, right? But
how do? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say how I don't know what the answer to this is. I don't know if there is an answer, but it's like, how do you get a fan base as big as Star Wars to acknowledge the fact that if every single component of Star Wars was acknowledged in every single thing that they ever did and wrote in moving something forward, nothing would ever be made. Nothing could ever be done. If you decided to acknowledge all of every book, and when I say acknowledge, I don't mean like give it a nod. I mean like literally play within the parameters of the canon that it sets. It would be what's the term? Paralysis by analysis. You would just get nowhere, and you could not do anything in it. So creators like George Lucas with the prequels, they have to go, that's what I did 20 years ago. Now this is what I'm doing today, or it's not happening because I can't do it. Got to be me. And that's kind of where we end up with this stuff. And I will say that too. It's important to acknowledge the difference between bad writing, good writing, writing that you like and writing that you don't like. The prequels are bad writing that I love, but I would not ever say that the sequel trilogy actually has bad writing. In fact, I'd say it has really good writing, just writing that I oftentimes, especially in the last movie, disagree with wholeheartedly. It's just a different
Darth Chaos.
Different
thanks for stopping by. I see you gotta head out. I appreciate you being here, and all of you. Look, I see we're over 50 in current viewers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. If you could support the channel with a like, some sort of subscribe, maybe join,
like it,
consider it,
like it now.
Patreon is awesome.
Get your lightsaber. Aggressive negotiation, Santa. Get your lightsaber out. Make him like it. You're gonna like it.
Anthony touched base on something here that we do have some instant reaction instead of getting information. We kind of talked about it earlier. People reading headlines and reading into stories without reading the content, or actually looking at the actual context of what was said. And then they come up with all kinds of odd things. And Nikki talking about, and I touched base on it, but her comment before that I highlighted, Lucasfilm and its associates, JJ or whoever, have had some very, very bad PR moments. And I think that they're doing a terrible job from that perspective. Look, PR for Lucasfilm is...
doesn't even exist.
I can't comprehend it. Right? I can't really get it in my head. Like, what are they doing?
They're playing Bejeweled on Facebook. That's what they're doing.
I just don't get it, right? I don't understand it, and I'm not in a position to understand it. So maybe they are doing what they should do, but to me, I can't make it out. And it's the same thing with their advertising. Like, why leave this huge vacuum for us to fill, versus some sort of dashboard? I mentioned this last week. Like, just give us a dashboard that says, here are all the things. And some of them are completely nonsense. They're never going to happen. And you can put indicators on there, and you can keep it up to date. And fans could go out and see, oh, that Rogue Squadron thing. Did its status change? Ooh, its status changed. Now we could do a story on it. It either went positive or negative, right? It's running ahead or it's running behind. There's something happened, and they put it.
I love that idea that they will never, ever in 1,000 years make anything seem like it's, and then they would start to manipulate it when things started to go bad, when things started to look bad on the internet. They'd start putting things in the positive, only to strategically put them down later. It would turn into a whole conspiracy.
I'm like, look, Lucasfilm, if you want, you could just hire me. I do
updates.
database. I do database reporting. We'd have to do dashboard kind of things.
Yeah,
I understand dashboards. I understand programming. You could just hire me. I'll put together a team. We'll come up with a dashboard. You guys can keep it up to date, and fans would love it, or they would hate it. But either way, you're in control of the narrative instead of letting them be in control of the narrative and try to make stuff up. Right.
Well, The truth is that it, like, the amount of people who regularly consume Star Wars media is not as big. It's not as big as we would think. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you
Right.
get down to it, there's like the actual online Star Wars community at large, outside of like the YouTube sphere, there's probably about 200 to 300,000 people that are continually active at like any time.
Yeah.
And those are the people who follow it day by day. And at the end of the day, I think when they figure if they report something on their site, then it may get into EW. It may get into a trade. It may get into something. And then now actual people are seeing it, not just our little tiny esoteric community in reality. I think that's what they're up against.
I think you're nailing it. And Nikki, love you too. She's absolutely adorable person. I love her so much. But I think you're right, because look, you have been. You look at the three of us, Meg,
Mm-hmm.
you, and I, and how much what we talk about ends up getting picked up by maybe the direct, right? You release some leaks and the direct picks it up. And then that gets carried on to other things. I'm like, wait, I know that dude, right? Like, the community is small enough that we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a thing. I think it is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate this. This is great, right? 14B face. It's cool that you're reporting, guy. I appreciate that. I appreciate that we can disagree on these kind of things and be close friends. We can absolutely be close friends. So do you think that this is something I was talking with Mark about, and we were chatting about in Discord? Do Force ghosts like Yoda in The Last Jedi, who conked Luke on the head with his staff and called down the lightning to light the tree up, do you think that that creates a big problem for Star Wars, or no big deal? What do you think?
Yeah, my take is it doesn't. I've heard his take on it, and I can see why it's a problem for him when he like overthink it. But my take is that it like when Yoda calls the lightning down in that moment, there's absolutely no spiritual opposition to what Yoda is doing in that moment. And so I think you could almost take it where if it was in the middle of a fight, if there were other people wielding the Force and different powers at play in that space, I think you'd have a different outcome potentially. That's when you would probably have a story like we just got in the excerpt. But we see Kenobi, I mean, walk around on Dagobah, and he's walking through vines and stuff and interacting with the physical environment like in that way. And right. I kind of think that, like, but I do I like that's where I don't like this happening in that book, though, because it's a really big thing that it should have happened in episode 9, and they messed that up. They didn't go far enough, like how everybody wanted them to. And I don't think there's anybody who says, oh, the voices was the right way to go the whole time. No one thinks that.
Right.
No one thinks that at all.
Right. I'm a sequel defender, but I will absolutely come right out front and say the sequels are a collection of missed opportunities. Yeah, I absolutely will say that. It's a collection of missed opportunities. I love what they gave,
and it always will.
Boy, they missed some opportunities. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can't possibly do everything. But in this instance right here, you came so close to it that you like literally suggested the idea in the very act of doing it. So in reality, I think it was logistical. It was you could not keep something secret that they couldn't even keep secret in the first place, but also bring in Liam Neeson and all these big, you know what I mean? Samuel L. Jackson, like it just wasn't going to happen without the cat getting out of the bag.
And I see Will Morgan's comment about the Bendu from Rebels also, with the lightning and all that. And was the Bendu actually ever there, or was he not there? Was it that's a whole kind of question as well, because at the end, Thrawn goes to shoot him, or his folks go to shoot him, and they shoot the ground. He's not there. Well, was he ever there? It raises all kinds of great questions. But at the same time, they did shoot him down from the sky, and he fell to the ground. Like, in what plane of existence did he exist? I don't know. Yeah, but it's pretty cool to speculate. But also in the Clone Wars, we see Qui-Gon actually lift Yoda and suspend him.
Yeah.
So there you've got Qui-Gon, who's not even a physical embodiment of a person yet, that you, by the way, told us we're going to get that. We're going to get to see Force Ghost Qui-Gon, which is going to be amazing. Super, super amazing. Can't wait.
Yeah.
But Qui-Gon in the Clone Wars lifted Yoda. And as you mentioned in the original trilogy, Dagobah, he's walking through there and the vines are moving out of his way as he's walking through there. It's always been a thing where the cosmic force could interact with the living force. And there's always been this ambiguity about what can force ghosts say and not say, who can they talk to and not talk to? Why do they say this and not that? Why do they tell lies so much? All of it is super confusing, but it's the way it is. A couple of things real quick too, and there's another image I want to share. And I know we're going long, but Anthony asked, do you think there may be we need to get a fresher perspective, younger people involved in the studios so that they can give more modern takes on things, more modern communications? Yeah, I do think that you have a problem in these corporations at every level. You name an industry, there's a problem, and it's where the leaders come from an older generation, and they're not as onto the current methods as maybe fresh startups are. And how do they combat that, and how do they deal with it? And some places do a better job than others. And I think Lucasfilm is largely caught in a bad place. Like I don't understand them. I'm completely lost on them. Right, completely lost on them.
What they tried to do exactly that. They went back and they were like, you know what? When we had a 60-year-old guy trying to make the Star Wars prequels for young audiences today, he missed the mark. He was referencing things that they have no idea about. It was over their head half the time. So they're like, you know what? Let's get young directors like George Lucas, that kid from Modesto, and let's let them make Star Wars movies. But they went and did that at the same time. They were having to prove to everybody that Disney Star Wars wasn't going to be Pollyannish crap. And so they took it away from them every single time. You know what I mean? Every single time they gave the movie to one of those young directors, they took it from them. And because they had to prove to everybody that they could make Star Wars as you know it. So what sucks is that they should have done that now. Now is the time to bring in those 29-year-old directors who have never made a feature and let them make a Star Wars movie, not back in 2016. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that if they go back to that concept, but once we saw Ron Howard picking up for Solo a Star Wars Story, it was very clear what the temperature of that room was, you know, what the climate was in that room. So I don't see them doing it, unfortunately.
Salty Texas Ranger, thank you so much. And I hope I didn't upset you with going on a tirade. I appreciate you subbing to the channel. You're a great guy. And I was trying not to do that, at the same time express my own frustration. And KG, I've been seeing your comments in the chat. I really I love this. I don't mind that she took on the Skywalker moniker either. And a lot of people say it's identity theft, or that she shouldn't have done that.
That's absurd. I love it. I love you guys. But if you really say that's identity theft, like Rey's gonna go get a credit card and max out the Skywalker credit line. I mean, come on.
Look, it's adoption.
They loved her like a daughter. They loved her like a daughter. You cannot even like it and agree with that. I mean, it's a right. The ghosts show up to her and they're like,
I wanted her to stay Rey Nobody. I really wanted her to stay Rey Nobody, to embrace that. And look, as I mentioned, the sequels, there were some missed opportunities. I would have loved to see them. Like Ray Charles, sure. I would have loved to see them take a little different direction with the Rise of Skywalker. I love the theory that she was one of hundreds of clones. Like the mirror scene are actually like her seeing that there are hundreds of her that they created over and over and over again, much like the clones, right? They created tons and tons of them. And she is the one special one, right? She is the one that was force sensitive. And I also, when I started seeing the views for Rise of Skywalker, and you see Dark Ray in there, I wanted that to be an actual sister,
Dark Ray. Yeah.
like another one of those clones of the hundreds and hundreds that is actually embraced the dark side, like that it was Palpatine's contingency project, right? And that it was his project, and that somebody saw Rey, they took her away from that cloning facility, and then were hiding her by putting her on Jakku. That's where I wanted that to play out, and then in those vats, we could have seen some like Rey's floating in goo, rather than seeing what's his name? Right, floating in there. I wanted to see all of that. Yeah, Snoke's. I wanted there to be all these other unmaterialized Reys like floating around in that instead of Snoke's. And I wanted at the end for her to realize that she truly did not have a mother, did not have a father in a traditional sense. Right? She was grown as a project in a vat, along with hundreds of others, maybe thousands of others. Right? In that, at the end, she just say, "Just Rey. I'm just Rey," right? And just embrace that. I would have loved it, but that's not the way it went. It's not the way it went. Yeah. And not again, the inconsistencies, things, missed opportunities. It would have been great, but anyhow, look, there's another thing I wanted to share, and Mark brought this to our attention right before the live stream. This was in some of the concept art for Kenobi, right? And we see the partisans had these, they're the same sort of things that we see in on Hoth, right? These little speeders. But we haven't seen anything on this lately. And you gave us a little update in there. You want to talk about this a little bit?
Well, I mean, yeah, in my opinion, this is concept art for the Sinkhole Clone Wars base on Jabim. And you guys asked me, are we going to see the snow speeders? And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I no one told me anything about the snow speeders being made or how cool it was to be around one of those things from Empire Strikes Back. I'm not saying it's not happening, but no one said anything about it. And the only thing I ever heard was that there was a bunch of Clone Wars tech in there. That's why they have clone blasters and stuff. But I did jokingly say, is that a bright light coming out of the snow speeder right there? Is that Kyber crystals? Is he looking at Kyber crystals? But
yeah, some good questions. What's this guy holding on to here? I don't know. His fingers are like he's holding something, but you can't see anything. Yeah. I don't know. So, I don't think this concept art, or at least from you've not seen anything where this fits into the story.
I mean, the base itself does. Yeah. Like that. Like I said, like that, like Sinkhole Clone Wars base. This is what you're seeing concept art for there. And very good. But in terms of there being like a big like snow speeder battle or something like that, or air speeder battle, I don't think that happens. I haven't heard anything about there being anything with those. I think it's just literally like Kenobi is injured. They're taken to the base, revitalized, sees what's going on. Then we learn about the Force kids. Then the bad guys show up. I think that's kind of the gist of it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Look, you guys, sorry, I kind of went on a rant. I try to be more understanding of different opinions, and it's something that I struggle with too. I'm a fan just like the rest of you, and there are things that folks say that trigger me, and I try not to let it get to me, and we can still be friends. And it's the same way, the reverse. I hope that when I go on a rant, that many of you can forgive me, and you can let it just be like my passion coming through. And look, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life, and it's just something that kind of takes over. So it's Monday. You're allowed, Santa. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. I think we've covered all the major topics. We do have the Mike Porter dad joke to cover.
Yeah.
And I love this one. This one is perfect Santa Monday. This is absolutely perfect Star Wars Santa dad joke. And I appreciate it, Mike. Here's the question. Why did the days on Endor seem to go so fast?
Why, Mike Porter?
Oh, because when you spend time in the forest, time goes by like a blurg.
He did it again.
Santa loves these blurgs.
Again.
Santa loves these blurgs. Look, just watched our friend Tim, Boss Bounty, did a thing on HasLab doing maybe a Razor Crest, and I know Tim also wants blurgs for the vintage collection line, and my friend X Wing had commissioned a vintage collection blurg custom for me, and I'm appreciative of that. You guys, you get it,
rad.
You understand.
That's rad.
I can't wait until it shows up. So you guys, thank you for your support. And Jason, thank you for your friendship. It means a ton
of course,
to me.
man.
Same. I appreciate you being available.
Even when I set you off and troll you on my own show. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I do that to you, Stan. But I will do it again today, probably. I'm looking for something right now.
Look, I'm counting on it. I'll be like, ooh. So you guys, thanks so much for being here, and you and Rob doing your regular show at the top of the hour,
about 40 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now.
All right, well, you guys, thank you all for being here, and I appreciate it. We will see you next time, and until then, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye. Hot dang!
Talking through the news from a galaxy far away. Toys and book reviews, positivity all the way. Come and join the fun, subscribe and like away. Movie news and show reviews, it's like Christmas every day. Oh, Star Wars Santa, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, Star Wars Santa, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa show. Ho, 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 ho. Hot dang, ladies and gentlemen, you're in